Okay.
All right. Good morning, Autolab listeners. This is Mike Porcelli here in the Gold Shield headquarters for the first time, broadcasting from our sponsor's headquarters on beautiful downtown Staten Island, New York.
Nice.
And we're here with the whole Autolab crew today to bring you all the most interesting information in the car world. We're here with David Goldsmith. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody.
The best tech in Brooklyn. Jerry and Johanna Pastori, the best techs in Nassau County.
Good morning, everyone.
All right. Jeff Alon, best transmission guy I know.
Good morning, everybody. Trolling as usual under the Whitestone Bridge.
Ian Carr, the best do-it-yourselfer I know.
Oh boy, that's saying something.
Alex Sultanis, the best car guy, all-around car club guy and car history guy I know.
Oh my God.
And them some big shoes.
And Robert Erskine, the best sculptor I know, and car guy and mechanic. And
Yes.
I have to say something else. Robert Erskine might be the best beard grower I know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are. Are you using wax yet? Are you using wax? No
I'm
wax.
not
And
using
he
any
does it.
wax at all.
And he does it with.
how about some
without
90
wax.
weight gear oil?
No, hydraulic fluid.
I will tell you I hate the smell of
Oh, me too, man.
gear
Oh,
oil.
boy.
It's a mix of
Yeah.
tuna fish and an amusement.
We
Yes.
drowned in it here. We drowned in that
Horrible.
stuff over here.
Oof. Yeah, we're not. It makes my skin crawl. That stuff. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Love
it makes your hair real slick.
Oh,
Oh,
well, and
gross.
look what it does for Robert's beard.
Where-
Okay.
Where do you think the expression grease monkey came from?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
90 weight. 90
90
weight.
weight, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Fully
Put stuff in the
synthetic.
gun.
Fully synthetic. So what do
The
we
only
got?
thing we use. The only thing we use.
All right. We got a very interesting show today for our first time on Facebook alone today. We're
Mhm.
on Facebook
All over the world.
without the radio station today due to some technical difficulties, which hopefully will be resolved very soon. All right, we have a very interesting show. Robert Erskine is going to tell us all about car warranties. Instead of the usual 5-hour dissertation that it takes to even read a car warranty, right?
It's just going to be 3.
Yeah.
The short version, Robert. The short
You
version.
promise
please.
not to read any warranties this
Yeah.
morning.
I'm not
right?
reading any warranties. No. The first part of the second part of the fifth part.
Yes.
Any of you know the Marx Brothers film?
Yeah.
Contract. Yes.
All
You
right.
can't get rid of that one. That's the sanity clause.
That's
All
the
right.
sanity clause.
Yeah.
After Robert does not bore us with warranties, we're going to learn a lot about vets and motorsports. And later on, coming up, we have a very special guest
Really good.
from Amelia Island, the creator of the Amelia Island Concourse, Bill Warner.
Wow.
So, Robert,
Yep.
start us off with a very quick explanation of car warranties.
Okay, well, I'm not really going to explain what car warranties are, but those of you who are lucky enough to actually have a warranty on a car, well done to you. I wish you much luck, and please God, may you never ever have to go and use it. But our segment today is entitled A Tale of Two Cars, or Warranties, A Tale of Two Cars. So purchasing a new car, as we know, provides for better reliability and relief that you have a good warranty should things ever go wrong. And currently, the best warranties here in Europe and also on your side of the pond are provided by Kia, Hyundai, and a little company called Sasayong. Kia leads by having a 7-year transferable 100,000-mile warranty, which covers pretty much everything. Sasong, which might not be the biggest name at the moment, has a 5-year unlimited mileage warranty and covers everything, including if you're an Uber driver, and that's pretty good. Hyundai matches Sasayong's with the 5-year unlimited mileage warranty here in Europe, but doesn't cover you if you are an Uber driver. Now, sometimes things do go wrong. And when this happens, and this is the key to my little report today, It's when the consumer then really experiences how that car company that he's bought a brand new car from are really going to hug him and kiss him and look after him when things go wrong. And this really is a very important and powerful component, how the issues are dealt with, because the owner of the brand new car has a problem. He goes into the dealership, which is where he got the car from probably, and says, "Can you help me? I have a problem." And this is when things start to go wrong. Do manufacturers today go the extra mile? Do they really put into play a truly wonderful warranty experience? Is there a rosy outcome? Do the dealerships really make you feel that you are an important person that has a problem, has to be dealt with? The answer, I'm afraid, is no. It's not very good. And when things really go wrong and it becomes an intractable situation, the savvy consumer starts to take things into his own hands. And what does that mean? He picks up the phone and he gets through to something called customer services. These departments work on computer speak. They're very well rehearsed with parameters of guiding the poor customer round and round in circles to really get absolutely nowhere. And what happens to the lemon cars?
Why are we not surprised?
Well, yeah. Well, the serious
Yes.
Lego cars end up in the media, and the social media is where things really start to help, because you can stand on every mountain and shout on the planet how bad your car is without going up a mountain at all. And then things start to work for you.
Robert, it sounds like you've had a bad customer experience. You sound very bitter.
Yeah,
You
I'm
sound
not bitter
very
at
bitter.
all. No. This is all tongue in cheek. This is all tongue in cheek. I have had many experiences with cars where I've taken out an extra warranty. And on a couple of occasions when I've been fortunate enough to go and be stupid enough to buy a brand new car, I have had issues. But that's for a book that I'm writing. But
Why do you say
let's
stupid
get-
to buy a brand new car?
well,
You not
because
buy new
you
cars?
lose money immediately, don't you? But we'll come on
That's
to this.
another show. That's
Another show. So very quickly, here is an imaginary scenario. Let's say that you have a Toyota, you've had lots of trouble. This is what could happen if the CEO of Toyota or any one of these big car companies actually decides, it's really important that I look after my customers. So, good morning. Is that Mr. Simons? This is Mr. Akio Toyoda. I'm so sorry that you're having problems. I'm personally calling you to ensure that your warranty issue is being resolved. When your Toyota is returned, there will be tickets for you and your husband to have a week's cruise. I do hope you'll always buy a Toyota. Here is my personal telephone number. My
Jeez.
apologies for the failure of your new Toyota. Now, all of this is romantic.
Is this Dreamland?
No, this is Dreamland. This is Dreamland. So now we cut to the chase. We now quickly cut to the chase. Here are two examples, very short examples of real life experiences of two separate cars. Now, the first one was a gentleman who had a fabulous car that was a 1927 dated car. I won't tell you what it was till we get to the end. He was living in the Middle East at the time in a place called Palestine. He had this fabulous car. The conrod broke and something happened to the crankshaft. He was a brilliant engineer. He couldn't fix it. He couldn't machine the parts, but he happened to be going to a place called France. And he knew that a certain gentleman resided in France who was the CEO of the company. He gets there. He knocks on the gentleman's door on a rainy night. And he asks the butler, because a butler opened the door. This is in 1946, ladies and gentlemen. He says, "Could I please speak to the CEO?" The butler says, "Go away." He rings the door again. This happens twice. And then eventually he says to the butler, "Could you please give this package to the gentleman inside with a note?" The door closes. 5 minutes later, a lovely, portly, tall gentleman comes in and ushers this gentleman in. They sit down. He tells you what has happened. And he discovers that they both have something in common. They're both mechanics. They've both got lovely personalities. They have a meal. And at the end of the evening, the CEO says, "I will try and help you." End of the story. 2 months later, the said gentleman gets a telephone call from the customs official in Port Haifa, Palestine, to sign and collect a large crate. He gets the crate. On opening it, what's inside? A complete engine and transmission, suspension parts, and service items. What is the car? What is the letter? The letter is Dear Mr. Laish, I trust the items inside will assist you in returning your Bugatti Type 40
Wow.
back to
Whoa.
good running
Yeah.
order, and I
Ah.
hope it will maintain its condition. With kindest regards to you, Ettore Bugatti.
Hmm.
So the
That's-
moral of the story is, if you want to have good warranty service,
Buy a
have dinner with
Bugatti.
the CEO.
Buy a
Yeah.
Bugatti.
Get to the
And
CEO,
Annoy the
exactly.
CEO.
And then
exactly.
finally, even shorter, the last one. A gentleman is driving down to Derby, London in 1970. He has an overheating problem in his car. The temperature gauge goes past the red. He has to keep stopping to let the thing cool down. He gets into London. He calls the service number. He's directed to an address in West London. He goes there. The doors of this huge 1930s type warehouse are opened. There are two gentlemen in white warehouse coats. They book the car in. They take him inside to a nice cozy room with some English tea and biscuits. They ask him to wait. An hour and 3/4 later, his car comes back and he's told, we found, sir, that the top radiator hose had actually collapsed because of age. It should have been replaced. So we've replaced all the hoses. And for good measure, we've taken the radiator out, we've flushed it, we put new antifreeze in, and there is no charge. Please don't take your checkbook out, and please don't give us a tip. This was 1970. The car was a 1954 Bentley R-Type Continental. The repair facility, Rolls-Royce and Bentley's West London service depot.
Okay, so are you saying
we
that
go.
we gotta have a Bentley or a Bugatti? I mean, this is not the
No.
real world.
No, what I'm saying is, should CEOs of car manufacturers get personally involved when serious customer problems occur? Because after all, it's great PR. This is the point of my
Yeah.
little piece. I think CEOs who probably don't know the first thing from one end of a spanner to the other, it would be interesting if we do know from listeners who can call in or email in, have they had an experience like that where a CEO has actually picked up the phone or texted them or even written to them?
You're shaking your head, Alex. Somebody once called you when your car broke down, the CEO of.
Oh, I just think that would be wonderful. I mean, I just, I just think,
Can you imagine?
I'm
Mark-
I'm thinking dreamland here, Robert.
Yeah,
I mean,
I am
come
I'll tell you
on.
what, I have a friend that that has a Ford GT, like a legit Ford GT, and he had some issues with it. It wasn't not the brand new ones, but the ones from like the early 2000s. And he was having so many problems that he actually he emailed the CEO of Ford.
And
Nothing.
nothing.
That we have
Like, what do you
experience with
expect?
extended warranties and warranties all the time and dealing with reality. I told a story about the Audi that we had. The manufacturer told her after 30,000 miles she needed a new transmission for $14,000, and then we brought the car in and were able to reprogram it for under 500. Those stories go on all the time on the front lines here. We deal with people calling us in panic, $10,000 they want to fix my car, and we bring it in and we're able to do the work for half and still make money.
So, I think that one of the issues for me when I'm listening to you speak, Robert, is like how companies like running a business, I've gotten my best customers, my most faithful customers when something screws up.
That's
And
the way it
it's
always
the
works.
way, and it's the way we handle it. And and I have to say, like, I'm going to tell you a little story about my mom's Honda. My mom had a Honda, I think it was a 97 Accord. She had an intermittent transmission problem since she bought the car new. She brought it in like 4 or 5 times. They could never nail it, right?
You
They
never
could-
called me.
Oh, well, this was a while ago. This is a long time ago. So they could never nail it, right? But after she was out of the warranty, her transmission control module, it was the TCM. That was the issue, and it failed. And it was like $900, right? But it was completely out of warranty, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years out of warranty. You know what? I called Honda. They sent us a new TCM with no charge. And
Wow.
The right thing.
so that's
Fantastic.
the right thing. And like it was like everybody that how many customers they gained from that experience? From just doing the right thing.
Well, if everything goes right, anybody can do it, right? You only make those memories or those connections, the things that stand out in your mind when
Right.
things don't go right, and especially if somebody goes above and beyond to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Company defines itself in adversity, not in when
Yeah,
everything is
well,
working properly.
and look at Volkswagen. Like, you know, they were buying people's cars back. I mean, they really blew it, right? They really blew
That
it.
was more,
Yes, they
I
did.
mean, that was terrible. That
I
whole thing
mean,
with the emissions
but
and I mean, that was
yeah,
fraud. you
it
know?
was fraud. But
Definitely.
you know what they did though? I mean, they became so aggressive. Like, you got a problem with the Volkswagen? We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. And they did, and they won. I mean, they're selling Volkswagens and Audis like crazy, right?
Yeah, they are. It's
And
popular.
now that we've heard from Robert about the two of the best warranty situations that we've ever seen, right?
How about the
I
worst?
I am the victim of the worst warranty situation that's gone on for 15 years unresolved. We'll talk about that on another day.
Okay, okay.
Hopefully,
Oh.
hopefully, once it's resolved, we can
Right.
report that it's finally finished.
Wow, I mean, 15 years. It's almost
15
a classic.
Yes.
It's almost a the repair is almost a classic
Yeah,
now.
that's
Getting
right.
there.
What about the business? What about the business of the extended warranty? You know, it's
Oh,
that whole thing, you know, this,
Just the
you
phone
know,
calls alone.
oh my
Speaking
God,
of
the-
extended warranty. What does all this discussion about warranty have to do with our sponsor, Gold Shield? Gold Shield is in business to sort of provide a warranty for our veterans so that they can get the service they need. Warranties provide service for cars as they get older, right?
Uh,
What are we trying to do here at Gold Shield? We're trying to provide services for veterans as they get older, as we get older, right? Our next guest, Peter Klein, has an organization called Vets and Motorsports, and he's combining cars and veterans and getting services to veterans. Peter, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the Autolab.
Glad to be here. I'm calling about my extended warranty.
oh man.
have you
Wanna
called it
try
in
to
yet?
Get us to buy one?
Yeah, I'm calling about interest in buying an extended warranty for your car.
It's going to expire.
yeah, it is going to expire. Right. So how's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning, good morning,
Good
Peter.
morning.
Good morning.
Good
You
morning,
all-
So,
Peter.
Peter,
Yeah.
would you agree that the services your organization and ours provide is trying to get services for veterans, just like warranties try to get service for cars?
Correct. Yes.
Well,
yes.
in a better way though.
Right.
Sure
Right.
you
We
guys
actually,
deliver.
Exactly.
right. Exactly. We want to follow through. Not that to say there's no other people following through, but like you hit it. There's an obligation for those that have served after their services ended to maintain their health, maintain their well-being, and Gold Shield and nonprofits like Vet Motorsports and others out there go and try to provide that at little to no cost to the veteran.
And what we're trying to do is raise money for all organizations like Vets and Motorsports and others, any organization that provides valuable service to veterans, no matter what it is, anything that betters the life of a veteran. Our main objective is to reduce veteran suicide and even just, reduce the stress veterans suffer that leads to the suicide. So we want to help any veteran who needs any kind of service. And Peter, you found a way to do that through motorsports. How did that come about?
So I used to race semi-professionally. My wife would call it visiting the hospital at a national level, but I used to race motorcycles, and I was watching Top Gear UK, and they did a little mini-sode on some veterans that had come back from Afghanistan and Iraq, and they were trying to qualify for the Paris to Dakar off-road rally. And I was inspired to do that for my road race team with motorcycles, and we did it, and we had a great success with it. And we found that it was therapeutic, and it provided a mission and hands-on experience for those that were looking for it. And we just kind of went from there. And that was back in 2013. And we've branched out from motorcycles, and we're now doing land speed, road racing in cars, autocross in cars. We actually think we got Mike to sign up for an event coming up here in Northeast PA, which is actually like right by the border of PA and New York. And we've done
Yeah,
it.
that was a bit of false advertising. When I saw that Northeast PA, I said, Well, it's only a couple hours away from us, so I'm gonna see if my son and I can go. The problem is Northeast PA is in Northwest PA, isn't it?
Right. I was going to make that statement. So I think when they named the town, they just thought it was where it was at. But we've serviced over 200 veterans plus caregivers, family members nationwide since 2013. We're all as a 501c3 and as an executive director, I don't get paid. The board does not get paid. 80% of every dollar, so 80 cents on every dollar goes directly towards programming. We're not brick and mortar. We're all virtual, so we don't have an office. We don't have a lot of overhead to maintain. And veterans, so our population served right now is any active guard, reserve, a Gold Star family member, or veteran with a service-connected injury. They can come to us. They can go to our events page. They can sign up. We'll validate their service history, and we'll get them into a motorsports event. And I think for everybody here, either listening in or on the Zoom call, I think we've all been moved by motorsports. I think all of us here at some point in time, and it doesn't have to be necessarily be motorsports, it could be anything automotive, right? We have a passion for cars, and we can probably remember the first time that we were exposed to automotive or something, and that made a lasting impression on us, right? Because we're all here talking about it this morning. And what we are trying to do is provide a gateway for those that may have not had that opportunity or want to have that opportunity, but just don't know where to get started. It's different now on the internet, right? But I think, I'm 53, and when I started racing motorcycles and getting involved in motorsports, the only thing I had was Carcraft magazine, no internet, and trying to figure out how to get started, right? So every generation of veteran has been involved in motorsports. You think about World War II, land speed racing. You think about muscle cars during the Vietnam era. You have drifting now with the younger generation. There's always some connection with helmet therapy and adrenaline and PTS and getting people involved in motorsports. And that's what we try to do at little to no cost.
Peter, was it your multiple hospital visits that gave you the idea to connect with veterans?
Well, no, first off, the multiple hospital visits gave my wife the idea that I should probably stop racing. For me, what really gave me the idea was I had been exposed to some pretty amazing things through working with the FIM and doing stuff with MotoGP and Moto America and American Flat Track, and had just these great experiences. And I just felt that I could do more by sharing those experiences than by kind of holding on to them to myself. So by taking all these individual pieces that I'd been exposed to, all these individual events, all these connections that I'd made through the racing community, I wanted to build something that was greater than the sum of its individual parts. And it really became, I could have easily have continued on motorcycle racing, but that I want to be known as a guy who had this kind of cool program that fizzled out because it ran out of money, or did I want to take something that could be possibly a legacy item, like that I could build a legacy on, that could have an impact longer than I was going to be around racing. Does that make sense? I had to really make a serious choice about that.
Admirable.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was
Sure.
tough. Well, I mean, when you're 46 and you've got, some broken bones and you just come back from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I mean, and you've got a 3-year-old daughter at the time. I mean, it's kind of an eye-opening experience, right? You've got to make a decision about what's really important at that time. So
Sure.
the one thing my wife said, and, she looked at me when we talked about the program, she looked me right in the eye and she just said, "Don't F this up." because she knew how important it was to everybody that was involved, right? And I think it resonates a lot with people. There's a lot of great programs out there, whether it's equestrian, whether it's vet motorsports, whether it's golf. I mean, for the right veteran, for the right participant, it's the right program, right? But at least we're giving them some exposure. And I think that easing that barrier to whatever, to understanding how to control your adrenaline, understanding how you can lower your anxiety, working on the civilian military divide, understanding that working with other vets and working with civilians, that you can overcome your issues and problems by just talking about it goes a long way. It's very therapeutic.
So some vets prefer horses and some prefer horsepower.
Right.
But would you say
Exactly.
that your biggest challenge is raising funds?
Yeah, I think for any nonprofit, especially when you come out of COVID-19 and you look at how much revenue you were generating prior to COVID, right? And then you have a social distancing component. I mean, I'll be pretty upfront. We post all of our financials online. We're transparent. You know, we went from almost $100,000 for our last really good fiscal year. Then COVID came and we dropped down to 30, right? Some nonprofits have
Wow.
barely gotten by. And that's a reflection, I mean, without getting into the minutia, but that's a reflection of the economy right now and in the world that we're living in. We're going to go back to a new normal, but yeah, I mean, fundraising for us has always been an issue. I think it's an issue with every nonprofit. Sustainability is a chronic problem, right?
Well, that's why Gold Shield is here. Our founder realized that veterans need help, and that all the veterans charities would have trouble raising funds. So he put together this national campaign. Hopefully, our national advertising campaign will direct the public to donate to our selected veterans charities, and Vets and Motorsports will be one of our charities, along with the equestrian charities and coffee houses, and any other group out there who can provide services that can help any veteran in any way. We want to help raise funds for your groups, so you don't have to spend money to raise funds. We want to raise the funds for you.
Peter, Jeff Alon from the New York Transmission Group. What's the name of your charity? Why don't you tell the listeners?
So for those looking to find out more about Vet Motorsports, and thanks, Jeff, and good morning.
Good morning, sir.
By the way, for those of you that can't see Jeff right now, his hair is amazing. He's got some amazing.
I've been called the hair.
The hair looks amazing.
It's the napalm look.
Oh my gosh.
So for those who want to learn more about not Jeff's hair, but more about Vet Motorsports, they can go to vetmotorsports.org. So vet like veteran, motorsports together, vetmotorsports.org. We have a webpage. We're on Instagram, social media. You can look at our financials there. You can make a donation. If you want to reach out and get involved as a volunteer, as a donor, if you are active, Guard, Reserve, a Gold Star family member, or a veteran with a service-connected injury, and you want to get involved, just reach out. If we have some programming for you, if we can't be everything to everybody, but if we know of somebody that if you're looking for something else that we can't provide, we can try to connect you. So
Awesome.
yeah.
If
You said a
anybody out
couple
there
of
has
things.
trouble reaching Vets and Motorsports, go to our website, thegoldshield.us, and Vets and Motorsports will be on our website.
I mean, Mike, I just want to say, I think it's really great that we had the opportunity to hear about Peter's organization, Vet Motorsports, because it really puts it puts a face and a real organization to the efforts that the Gold Shield is supporting all over the country. I mean, this is the work that gets done, and it's the money that's raised through the Gold Shield to support these organizations. So it's just great to see it. You know, we talk about, we want to support vets, but I can wrap my brain around what you guys do, and it must be really, really awesome, and it really must have a huge impact on people. And I just commend you guys and the Gold Shield for making it happen.
It puts a more personal aspect of the whole experience.
Absolutely.
I would encourage all of you, if you have an opportunity to come out and participate with us or check out an event, just let us know and we can certainly accommodate you and have you come out and take part. So just reach out, Mike can get a hold of us, or Mike can pass my information along.
And we'll put it on this page here.
Right.
Absolutely. So when we go to your website, I mean, I guess we could get it like on a listserv or something, so like we know when events are happening. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, if any of you are better drivers than Mike, you might want to just go up with him to the event and show him how it's done.
Thanks for what you're doing, Peter.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you.
We have a great list.
Do you have any events in the Northeast coming up soon?
We're working on that. We actually made some huge, not to get into the details, but we made some huge organizational changes. We've got some COOs now that are managing certain aspects of the country. We've got some people that have reached out to us from over on the East Coast. So we're working on it. It's all the demand for the program has been tremendous. And we've got tremendous support. And I want to actually thank the Sports Car Club of America and the SCCA Foundation. Their foundation supports the majority of our programming nationwide. And I have to say thank you to them, because without their support, especially through COVID, we wouldn't be anywhere right now. So they're one of the largest, oldest car clubs in the US, and they write us a grant to help get veterans involved in the motorsports. So we plan on being on the East Coast more, but we want to build it right. We want to do it and make sure that the veterans have an experience, makes them want to come back. So for us, it's not about quantity, it's about quality, right? We want a quality experience. So
Cool.
Hey, well, we're not just East Coast. I mean, we're Facebook brings us all the way around
All
the
the way
world. So
around the
when's
world,
when's
right,
your
yep.
next event? It's just because we can't attend. Maybe somebody else. What's your next event?
Well, we got something coming up next weekend. Mike's going to be up in Northeast PA. We're going to petition the town to change their name to Northwest PA, but that's a different topic altogether. So we're going to be in
It's south, northeast, west.
South, yeah, right. We're going to be in Northeast PA next weekend. We're going to be in Fontana, California next weekend. We've got an event coming up in the Chicago area in Joliet that needs drivers. The SCCA is going to provide us a 6-speed manual transmission RS Camaro to use for the weekend for 3 days. We're going to provide driver training. We have nobody registered for that. So we've got an opening there. We're going to be, and we've got some opportunities to pick crew in Moto America coming up at VIR, which is in Alton, Virginia. We've got some events coming up in West Virginia. I mean, we're really,
You guys are busy.
yeah,
So we go to your website, and I'm sure we can all find out about what's coming up, and if we live in the area. And
yeah, we've got an event schedule posted, and you can
Awesome.
go there nationwide. We're also trying to get back involved in our vintage drag racing program. I don't know if any of you are draggers, have been in vintage drag racing, but we've got
That's
this really
getting
amazing.
big. That's getting
Yeah.
real big.
Yeah, well, everybody's got all the money, right? They got all these people have all this money for all this vintage stuff. It's an amazing experience. So
So
if you
it's
go to our
vet- yeah,
vetmotorsports.org, vetmotorsports.org, you can get on a listserv, you can sign up to get involved. You can sign up on our, we have a weekly newsletter that goes out that talks about events happening. The one thing, we have a fundraiser coming up, Mike, just to let you know, on the iRacing platform a week from today. It's the Armed Forces iRacing Challenge. And for those of you that don't know what iRacing is, it's an online racing format. And the proceeds going to that go straight to our nonprofit. And we also are encouraging people to represent the our branch of the armed services in the iRacing platform.
So it's a way to race without visiting the hospital. Is that it?
Yeah, exactly. I will say that the infield medical center at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is one of the best. I would say that IU does a great
I would hope
program
so.
there. Yeah, they have a great program there. So I want to encourage all your listeners, viewers out there, to visit vetmotorsports.org to learn more about our mission and to get involved. It's, with Gold Shield supporting us and with Mike reaching out to us, we're honored to be a part of that and just honored to be a part of the show this morning. When he told me 7:15, by the way, that was not a problem because I told as you get older, it's harder to fall asleep and wake up. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Everybody that's laughing knows it's true. The people that aren't laughing are still too young to understand that, so.
All right,
All right.
Peter, thanks a lot. Any last words before we move on to our next guest?
Well, Mike, I want to welcome you home. We had a great conversation this week. For all the Vietnam veterans that are listening, welcome home. And for all the veterans that have served, welcome home as well. Please visit us at vetmotorsports.org and get involved, learn more about us. And I want to wish everybody a great upcoming Armed Forces Day and Memorial Day. Let's remember those that paid the ultimate sacrifice for us.
Hear,
Peter,
hear.
thanks for the welcome
Thanks for
home.
coming on,
Let
Peter.
me just point out that welcome home has become sort of the new motto of the Gold Shield, because what we want to do is make sure that every veteran gets a proper welcome home, whatever they need to make that happen.
Awesome.
Right on. I
Great.
want to
Thanks,
everybody have an
Peter.
amazing day. So thank you.
Welcome home,
Thank you,
vets.
Peter.
Thanks, Peter, and stay away from the
That's
hospital.
awesome.
Stay away from the hospital. I'll tell my wife insures that now. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, guys.
All right. Moving on to our next guest who crashes cars without the need to visit the hospital. Russ, you haven't had to visit a hospital due to a car crash, have you?
I have not had to visit a hospital. Sometimes the dummies need to go to we have an infield hospital at the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety with a bunch of dummy parts that are available in case they're needed.
Transplants.
So then you have to have dummy surgeons too, right?
Yeah, and we have one.
There are lots of those.
Oh, there's a lot of dummy surgeons.
I don't think ours are MDs, but they definitely are
So
engineers.
they'd
and they
be
can-
DDs, dummy
Yeah,
doctors.
exactly. But we don't need a,
What have your dummy doctors been doing this week?
well, we did not need a dummy doctor for the vehicle that we're talking about today because it passed the safety test with flying colors. We're talking about the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. This is a hot small SUV that Ford just introduced, and I think they're having trouble keeping them on the lots. But this vehicle is a top safety pick plus winner, and it aces all of our 6 crash worthiness tests, and it does well in crash prevention as well, earning a superior rating for its automatic emergency braking. We do tests out on our track, both vehicle to vehicle tests and vehicle to pedestrian tests, and the Bronco Sport does well in that as also. And I would also point out with the Bronco Sport that this is a vehicle that earns a top safety pick plus rating, so its headlights are also good. It has one good rated headlight system across all trim levels, so you don't have to go hunting around on an options list for a headlight system that earns our top rating. It's on all the trim
Are you
levels.
saying they have optional headlights, but they all the options pass your test?
The Bronco Sport is one of these vehicles we're seeing more of where there's just one headlight system that's standard across the board. It's an LED projector system. So we only had to test one system, and it aced the tests. And that's something that we're seeing more and more, is that the manufacturers are eliminating the headlight options that did not perform as well, reducing the complexity too for the consumer, so they don't have to go have their dealer go hunting around the country for a vehicle equipped the way our vehicle was tested. And another interesting thing about the Bronco Sport is that we do a roof crush test where we take a plate, metal plate that pushes on the one corner of the roof and crushes it down 5 inches, and we measure the resistance on that plate, which gives us a strength to weight ratio. That tells us how much weight the vehicle could support if it was turned over on its roof. And that's important because you want the vehicle's structure to hold up in a rollover, just like you would in a frontal or side impact crash. That way the survival space for the driver and the occupants is maintained even as the vehicle is rolling. And the Bronco Sport was achieved a rating of 6.3. That means that its roof can support 6.3 times the vehicle's weight. And the Bronco Sport weighs 3,400 pounds. So that's a very strong roof. And that is an example of what the automakers can do when they work on an issue like this.
Now that was the Bronco Sport. Did the other models not do as well?
No, this is the trim level that is available exclusively now on the Bronco. It's the Bronco Sport. I think they'll be adding other ones through the year. But typically, if one trim level performs well in the test, that extends to others, unless there's some huge weight difference in the vehicles.
May I ask, do you think that, it seems like, having listened to you for years now about reporting and the pressure that you guys, like your focus, and forgive the pun, your focus on the lighting has kind of pushed the manufacturers to up their game. And do you think the same kind of focus on something like this crush rating, like are they gonna try to just kind of meet your standards, or What do you see?
They do that. And what happens with our tests, we're not a regulatory body, so we can't impose a regulation on vehicles like the federal government can do. But it is, as the word that you used, it is a pressure effort to push the envelope. No manufacturer wants to have a poor rating in a safety test that ends up, in the media. And so they work to achieve that. And what our tests do is it gives the safety engineers at the manufacturers, it gives them clout to put forward their engineering ideas for achieving good ratings in the IHS tests. And they can say, look, we need to put money into this, like roof strength. Otherwise, we won't get a good rating in the IHS tests.
A bad rating from IIHS is like a bad rating on social media, right?
It's a bad mark. It's something the manufacturers don't want to get, and they're competing on safety. They all want to say that they are top safety pick plus rated models, and you see it all over social media, as you just mentioned, Mike, with the Ford Bronco Sport. They tout that because they see it as a big selling point.
You know, what really is funny is nobody can get these cars, and there you are, Russ, crushing them. You know, I mean, what's up with that?
I'm ready to buy one. I really want a Bronco. I mean, they're awesome. They,
Oh
they
my
look
God.
great. I love what they did with them. The update is amazing.
We
Yeah.
had the designer. What was his name? Was it Robert?
Paul Wraith. I was just going to mention, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We had
Rafe.
the designer of the Bronco on, the chief designer, Paul Wraith, about a year ago. And did you
Amazing.
send him a letter of apology for crushing his work?
Yeah.
I sent Rafe a letter about his
Oh.
roof.
About
It's
his run.
painful. It's painful to watch these vehicles getting smashed. It really is.
How many
Yeah.
of them did you get? How many did you get, Russ?
Well, if it's a brand new vehicle that we haven't ever tested before, we have to buy 6 of them. Now, what's happening in the last year now is that we are transitioning to some new crash tests. And so one of the programs that we introduced for the manufacturers, which works for us and works for them, is like the federal government, we do what's called crash test verification. Since they are building all of this stuff into their regular design and their own crash tests, they provide us with the video and the test results, the measurements from their tests, and then our engineers verify it. And that way we don't have to spend the money on 6 vehicles like this, and we get the ratings out faster.
That's
You
pretty
got-
interesting if you think about it. I mean, now you could do it via Zoom, like everything else is going on. Just
And
take
it
the
is
data.
done. And it is
Yeah.
done by Zoom. Usually we have the manufacturers come to our facility to watch the tests. And now because of COVID, we've been doing Zoom crash tests.
But you guys go out there and buy the vehicles. Like they don't prep a vehicle for you.
Yeah,
to
that's
test, right?
interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that they maybe gave them to you or something, but you actually do you go
We
to a
go-
dealership to buy them or do you buy them
Yes.
directly from, wow.
We buy them directly from dealers.
And they don't know which one you're buying, right?
Right, and we
That's-
don't, and for that very reason, we don't want a special vehicle sent to us by the manufacturer. If the manufacturer asks us to do a specific, test a specific vehicle, which they often do early in the model year because they want to get the ratings out, then we ask them to reimburse us for the cost of buying the vehicles. But
Mm.
typically, we buy them and absorb the cost if it's part of our regular crash test
You
program.
all chip in or what? Like, we went, okay, we're buying a Bentley this week, guys.
How do
Well-
you get your money? How are you funded?
All of
Yeah.
all of the insurance companies pitch in, so we're
Mm.
funded by all of the
It's one of
insurance
those
companies in the
fees.
United
The
States.
fees at the bottom of the insurance. We all pay for it, guys.
So yeah, in other words, we are all paying for it, right?
Right.
That's
Russ.
how the money we're
It's-
overcharged goes.
It's one of the things the insurers started back in 1959 to make vehicles safer and make the roads safer. And they started the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety with the mission of doing that to make sure that the customers that they have come back after crashes.
You know, full disclosure, being in the automotive repair business, I'm not a big fan of insurance companies, but I gotta say, this is great work that they're doing. I mean, this is money well spent because it's obvious that you guys are pushing the manufacturers to do the right thing by the customers. I think insurance companies are probably just trying to save money, but I do think there's a noble cause there and that they support. And it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm saying this. Go, God bless the insurance companies. Did I just say that?
Should we give them the benefit of the doubt is the question, right?
But it is
Can I-
great work.
And they're
Can I
filling a
just-
gap.
Preventative.
Yeah.
Robert,
Can I just-
Robert, go ahead.
I was just going to quickly add in, Russ, this is absolutely fascinating, getting a real insight into how you really get on with testing cars. I'm sure that you knew, Russ, that Saab did the famous drop test on the Saab 99 and the 900 series, where they raised their both of these cars to a height of 8.4 feet above the ground on a crane, and then cut the rope, and the car dropped straight onto its roof. Nothing, absolutely nothing. There was.
I think I remember those commercials,
There was
Robert.
no buckling whatsoever. So
Maybe Tiger Woods should have had that.
yeah, yeah, yes.
Well,
And he did. The GV80 that he was driving as a top
saved
safety
him.
pick model. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Saved him.
So, Russ, we all commend the work that IAHS did in forming your testing organization. But I would like to propose a new addition where you would take the vehicles to a new organization called the RIPR, the Repair Institute for Proper Repairs. After you destroy those cars, let's get them repaired. And then again.
Well,
What
it's
do
an
you guys
interesting-
do with the smashed up cars?
Well, it's an interesting question. And what happens with the smash cars is that we sell them for salvage. So we do get some money back for recycling some of the parts that aren't damaged. But proper repairs is also part of our mission, and it's something that we used to do a lot in this area a number of years ago, and then we had some other priorities. But I think that's something that we would like to get into again, because cars are so expensive to repair and they're becoming increasingly difficult, challenging to repair with all of the electronics and all of that. So that's something we're going to be looking at too.
That's great.
Russ,
Great.
Russ, I got a question. On the A pillow, they're making them so wide at a big blind spot. Are they
Yeah.
doing anything about that?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, and I think there has been some engineering work done at looking at the A pillars. We don't see some people say, well, if you have these thick A pillars, you may not be able to see a pedestrian and so forth. And it's one of those things. It's not necessarily all driven by crash testing, but the A pillars have definitely gotten thicker, and it's something to watch.
And the only problem that I see is that these pedestrians now feel that they have the right to cross the street without even looking. And like that woman that got hit a couple of weeks ago or last week, she got hit by a car making a right turn. And I
We see
know
a
the
lot
guy
of-
didn't
yeah,
see
we
it.
see those. Yeah,
Yeah.
we see those. Yeah. Yeah.
Usually the pedestrian does have the right of way.
No, I'm not saying they don't have the right of way, but they don't even turn around and look.
Well,
Well, they're
that's-
listening with headphones and they're
and
down in
they're
their
texting.
You're on
Phone.
your
They're doing all
phones.
kinds.
Listen,
of
it's a
stuff.
dangerous combination. The driver's texting, the
Yeah.
pedestrians texting. Nobody's watching. what
Distraction.
they're doing.
Not good for your health.
And as the vehicles have become safer and people are walking away from crashes for the people that are in the vehicle, a larger proportion of people who get seriously hurt in crashes are now pedestrians and cyclists. So that's an area, big area of research right now too.
That's great.
Pedestrian avoidance
So,
systems.
Russ,
Yes.
tell us again the website where people can go and see your work and look at all the videos of the cars crashing.
You can go and see the Bronco Sports results as well as all the small SUVs we've tested at iihs.org, and just go to vehicle ratings on the tab.
Boom.
Boom,
Crash.
there it is.
Oh man.
Russ, thanks a lot for this,
Hello?
as usual, great report.
Okay,
And try and top it next week, will you?
I will do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Thanks so
All
much,
right.
Russ.
Bye-bye.
Now I think we need time for a short break. Everybody ready for a break?
Sure.
Why not? What do you want to
Why
play?
not?
All right. Whatever Alex has ready. Alex, what do you have ready?
I have everything ready. It's me today, Mike.
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Ian, what do you
All
got?
right. New York Transmission Group is a team of automotive and transmission experts. Utilizing a combined 100 years of experience, our professionals from Reliable Transmissions and Lee Miles have merged to better serve the 5 boroughs and surrounding areas. With a new leader, a new location, and a new brand, New York Transmission Group is ready to offer updated, superior customer service paired with our established quality repairs. Visit us in College Point, Queens, or at nytransmissiongroup.com.
Gold Shield is an organization of businesses, both large and small, that have pledged to putting an end to the national disgrace which is veteran suicide, and also to expedite research and treatments for various cancers. When you choose to shop Gold Shield, you'll be making a direct impact in the lives of veterans and their families, as well as people who suffer from cancer. Whether it's at your grocer, your barber, your insurance professional, your internet provider, gas station, or even your favorite coffee shop, you can be sure that every veteran and cancer victim in their darkest hour will be well cared for. Please shop Gold Shield and be assured that funds will go towards those who need it the most. We bury our loved ones every day, and we can't wait any longer, so please shop Gold Shield: The Simple Truth, which supports cutting-edge treatment for veteran suicide prevention and expediting cancer research.
Okay. I hope everybody does go to the goldshield.us and support our veterans in any
Okay.
way you can. Just like we heard from Vets in Motorsports earlier, there's lots of organizations out there designed to help vets with whatever they need. And Gold Shield is here to make sure that they get the funding to do the work that they need for the vets. All right. Jeff,
Morning, guys.
hear me. We just
I
just
can
heard
hear you.
we just heard somebody talking about New York Transmission Group. I don't know if everybody out there understands what you do. Why don't you tell us?
Okay, so we're a transmission and driveline remanufacturing facility. We do work for the New York Police Department. We do work for New York City Transit. Con Edison is a huge account of ours, and we do work for regular
Guys like me.
guys like
Dude,
David.
he
David.
does all my transmissions.
This week we had a person come in with this 64, I think Robert Erskine might recognize this vehicle. It's a right-hand drive 64 Rolls Royce.
No,
And they
Jeff,
came
that's a
in on an
wrong
emergency.
hand drive, isn't it?
Yeah, the wrong hand drive. Yeah, I was behind the wheel driving this thing this week. I was like, this is what it feels like. And
what was wrong with the car?
well, it came in no move situation, no fluid in the transmission. This vehicle, believe it or not, had a conversion job done with has a Chevy 350 engine and a Chevy 350 transmission in it. So somebody really did a number on this thing.
Erskine's shaking his head.
Oh
Ooh,
my God! Yeah,
ooh,
Robert, you would have been. I took
How
pictures for you.
could
You would
they?
have been.
It's a
Anyway,
Rolls
it came in,
Royce.
and the conversion job that was done, had a few things left to be desired, unfortunately. So we had to rebuild the transmission, rebuild the transmission cooling system, replace all of the controls and stuff. And then we battled with this shifter assembly that they put in. It's like a race car ratchet shifter. They put in this 64. Oh my
They put
God!
like
I
a
was
Hearst
shaking
and a
my
Rolls
head.
Royce.
Why
Yeah,
would they do
yeah,
that?
in this
Why-
64
why?
Rolls Royce?
Why?
Why
Because-
would they
listen,
rip
the
out
rea-
the heart?
I'll tell you why. Because they called the CEO of Rolls Royce, and he said,
He
"You
didn't get
need
back
it-
to them.
You need a transmission. Good
Put a
luck."
Hearst shifter in there.
He didn't put it in a box and send it to him.
Rolls
so-
Royces never break down.
Oh,
So I have to tell you though, it came in on Wednesday at 12 o'clock, and they had it booked for 3 o'clock on Friday for this beautiful couple to get married. And I have to tell you, people, we had
got-
success.
All
It
right.
made it there
Oh,
within
you
the
got 'em
nick of
married?
time.
You got it to the church on time.
We got it to the
Well
church
done.
on time, and we got some great accolades, and everybody was sending messages. Thank you so
That's
much.
fun. That's
It was
fun.
it was a real pleasure to be involved, and to talk about a good feeling scenario. So, sometimes things do go right.
Sometimes,
and-
sometimes we're all able to help people in their moment of distress, right?
Yeah.
Without a
Well,
doubt, without a
Okay.
doubt.
Oh,
It was
boy.
great
All right,
experience
Jeff,
this week,
good.
though.
Good job.
Yeah.
But
Well done.
right now, it's a real pleasure to introduce Bill Warner, who is the founder of, the brains behind,
Oh my
and
gosh.
everything behind Amelia Island Concourse.
Doing
Bill, welcome to the
Bill.
Autolab.
Thank you. Thank you for
Tell,
having me.
tell
I
us,
wish you guys would do shows at 10 o'clock in the morning because when I'm at my age, I like to sleep on Saturday. However,
That's coming next week, Bill.
no, this week and next Saturday, we've got about 70 people in here. We're doing what we call the bag packing today, where we pack the bags for the entrance. And then next week is the pod packing, where we load everything in pods that go up on the island. So Saturdays are not free until after May 24th.
so tell our listeners, Bill, what Amelia Island Concourse is all about, how you got started in it, how you got into the car culture. You've always been a car guy, I understand.
Yeah, since birth. I don't remember a time where I wasn't into cars. Even when I was a kid, my tricycle was a Buick. And my mother says my first word was Chevrolet. So I'm kind of a GM guy. But no, I just was always into cars, although I couldn't afford them. I worked for a Volkswagen dealership back in when I was a teenager, driving a parts truck and the courtesy wagon, and the owner, Sonny Sager, owned a race team called Scuderia Mickey Mouse, Scuderia Mickey Mouse, and Mighty Mouse. And I got to go to the races when I was 16, schlepping tires and coffee. This was before there were rules about being 18. And I think the first race I went to with him was 1959 at Denellen, Florida, when I was 16. And I inhaled castor bean oil and heard the sound of a Testarossa, and boy, I was
That was it.
I was already hooked, but I mean that
Eh.
just set me over
Wow.
the top. Amelia Island started when a lady named Patty Hendricks, who was a PR lady at Ritz-Carlton, asked me if I would do a concours. And I made my living in the filter business. We sold filtration equipment for industrial applications, but it supported my car habit. And I told her, well, I had confidence if I could do it. I would never. I'm not an event guy. I'm an electrical engineer by education. And I said I had confidence we could do it. And as I jokingly say, confidence is the feeling you have when you don't truly understand a situation. So we looked at it and we said, well, Jacksonville's a good location. It's about 1,300,000 people in the area. We're equidistant between Miami and Tampa and Atlanta and Charlotte. And we draw from, probably 16, 17, 20 million people. And then the Ritz-Carlton's a 5-diamond resort. It's the only one of two 5-diamond restaurant and hotels in the state of Florida. And so that made sense because you want to have a concours at a resort or a destination area. First year I think we had 2,400 people, and we had what we call no-see-ums, bugs, and kind of dodgy weather, but we had Sir Sterling Moss.
Oh, so VWs were there.
Bugs.
Not until about 2 years ago when we did custom coachwork Volkswagen, and we had Dowers and Romeshes and all these really great VWs that we even had a 4-door Beetle taxi. And I think it's the only one in the United States.
Wow.
Probably 4 left.
That went over real well, didn't it, Bill?
Yes, it did, because everybody has a Volkswagen story, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
You went to college in one, or you met your girlfriend in one, or it's the only thing you could afford.
I frozen one.
Or you tried to fix one and you couldn't fix it.
Well, they were pretty simple. So every year we do a goofy class. Well, we call it internally a goofy class. We don't do that publicly because someone might be offended, but I've worked with Wayne Carini over the years on stuff. And we did one called What Were They Thinking, where we went out and got the ugliest cars we could find. We did one called Cars the Cowboys, where we got the cars with the horns and the silver dollars and the leather, and we had the Roy Rogers car, the Gene Autry car, the Buck Jones car. I think we had 8 cars of famous cowboys. And then we did great hunting cars, which took me 10 years to put together, with the King Ranch Buick, with the carbines and the fenders and all that. With a Concours, a Concours is about elegance and presentation and history. But every now and then you got to throw in a class for people who don't care about cars. They're drugged to the show by their husbands or their wives, and you got to give them something that entertains them, and that's what the Goofy class is for.
That's what sets your concourse different from a lot of other ones, right, Bill?
I guess, I grew up in the racing world. So when we started, we took what we figured were the best ideas from Meadowbrook, now St. John's, and some ideas from Pebble Beach. But then we did our own ideas. And we have 2 fairways. So we said, okay, one fairway is going to be for sports and racing. The other car is going to be for the other side is going to be for classic. And then we decided to do 2 best in shows, because it's hard to compare a Ferrari GTO with a Duesenberg SSJ. They're both spectacular, and they're both should win shows. So I had a friend of mine from Europe who said, you're so crazy, you can have but one best in show. I said, no, man, we got 2 fairways, we got 2 themes. So we started the 2 best in show program about 10 or 15 years ago. But I really like, Gene Jennings, my friend who used to be the editor of Car and Driver, he used to refer to Concours as a dead car shows. And we wanted to breathe some life into it. So for me, you crank up a helmet turbine or a Shadow Can-Am car or a McLaren M8F, and the leaves shake and the seagulls go flying off. That's what makes the show. It gets people's blood rolling,
I like. You also got the Cackle Fest, which is
we did that. That was the first time. That was 2 years ago, and at the time there was a guy at McLaren. He's no longer there. Got all upset because his cars were sprayed with a little bit of alcohol, and I heard about that for a couple of months afterwards. They later shipped him to China. I don't know
What's a Cackle Fest?
Yeah,
that's where you bring in top fuelers, and they're old. They don't run them much anymore. They do run vintage drags, but you crank them up on gasoline and you turn them on alcohol and you let them sit there and cackle and you rev them up and everybody gets excited. It blows.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
You guys, you always have an honoree from the motorsports, right? Every year.
Roger Penske.
Wow.
Thrilled to have for our 25th anniversary. And this year we're going to have Lynn St. James, the first woman to be Rookie of the Year at Indy. Won the GTO race single-handedly at Watkins Glen, drove for Jack Roush.
Wow.
I knew her years ago when she was racing a Pinto. So she's come a long way, and we're real thrilled to have Lynn here. And other folks will be here will be Derek Bell, Brian Redmond, David Hobbs, Hurley Haywood, Justin Bell. We lost some of our Indy folks this year because we had to move from March to May. We generally have Johnny Rutherford. And I have to say, we lost one of our friends who was here with us last year. That was Bobby Unser.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, when these shows, people always ask, "What's the magic? What did you do that other shows didn't do?" And I think it boils down to we really embrace people, drivers, and the history, and the fact that you can go on the field. And in the past few years, you could run into Richard Petty, Johnny Rutherford, Hurley Haywood, shake hands, get pictures made. You can't do that at the races. So it's about honoring our heroes or heroines and having an opportunity for them to meet them.
Alex, I know you're going to be down there in 2 weeks, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I'm going every year. I'm going to volunteer.
It's the best show.
I told Bill I'm going to start volunteering every year to help out with whatever they got. It's like it's 650 volunteers, right, Bill?
Yeah, about a little more than that. In fact, we'll have about 80 of them in here this morning at the office doing the bag packing. It's like I spent 30 years in the Air Force Reserve. I call this the Ritz-Carlton's about 40 miles from our office, so it's like a mobilization exercise for us. It's all affordable, and um, that's not much of a challenge, really. Utilizing pods, we can load everything in. And 4 pods, we can have most of the show up there on the island.
Hey, Bill, can you talk about the charities that are all involved? I mean, that's the main
Yeah.
thing that's behind this whole thing for you,
Yeah,
right?
what started for the first 8 years, I wasn't an employee. I did everything on a laptop. And at the time, my father was passing away, and hospice took care of him. So when the Ritz-Carlton came to me, they said, "Would you do this?" I said, "I'll do it, provided we support a local charity." So we did community hospice, and we've expanded it. I have a granddaughter who was born spina bifida, which is a very debilitating birth defect. Many spina bifida people can't hold jobs. They can't walk. It's tough. So we support spina bifida. We're the largest single contributor to spina bifida in the area, and maybe in of events in the United States. We support Shop with Cops program for underprivileged children on Nassau County and Fernandina Beach, where we match up police officers with young at-risk youth, and they shop at Christmas with them. That's part of the bonding of the local community to the police force, unlike other areas of this country.
So not only do people go to your event and have a great time, but you're also raising money for a lot of good causes.
Yeah, and even though I'm Air Force, we raise money for the Navy Marine Corps Relief Fund. So
Very good. Ian, did you have a question?
I do actually. There's a question from Facebook, Bill. So Fred wants to know what your perspective of where the industry is going with EVs and what that might mean for the collector car.
well,
Concord.
Fred, tell Fred that's an interesting question. When COVID hit, we sat there and said, "Boy, we've got to be relevant to what's going on here." So we decided to do a theme on traditional electric cars, dating from 1895 to 1922. And then we went to the manufacturers and say, "This is a good opportunity to tell your story on electric cars." So we have 9 manufacturers who are going to be showing cars here at the show, some for the very first time. We've got the new Cadillac Lyric, the Humvee, the Hummer Electric. We've got the Jim Farley is bringing down the Ford Mach-E's. We've got the Lucid, the Bollinger truck and off-road vehicle.
Wow.
The Superformance has done an all-electric. I want to call it a 427 because it looks like a 427 Cobra. The Volkswagen's doing the ID4. Porsche is going to unveil their new. I would call it the entry-level Taycan. It's 90 grand an entry level for you.
Hey,
but
it's 5 figures, not 6.
Yeah, BMW is showing the Mini Electric, which is really, it's pretty good with the tax rebates and everything. You can be into a Mini Electric for, in the 20s. And so every manufacturer is going to have an opportunity to showcase their new electric cars, but we'll have the traditional historical electrics on the field also.
Wow.
Now, where is it going? I wish I knew. It's being driven generally. It's starting with European countries and countries like France, which don't have an oil resource but generate a lot of electric power through nuclear. Electric made a lot of sense in some cases. If you go from Paris to Brussels, for example, it's like going from Jacksonville to Savannah. It's not a big deal. Here in the United States, it's a lot different. Our distances between cities, many times, are 200 to 400 miles. What I see in the future is if someone wants an electric car, it'll be their second car or their primary in-town car. I think there's still a lot of future in ICE, and with the new syn fuels that Volkswagen's come out with, and Toyota's and BMW are both pushing hydrogen. I think that the battery-powered electric, in my opinion, is kind of a stopgap for maybe 10 years. There'll be new technology that'll take over from that. But even hydrogen-powered cars, some of them generate power to power electric motors.
Right. We have another question here from Facebook. How does the regular guy get into the inflated collector car market?
Work hard.
So,
Actually,
Bill,
I started in my first collector car I bought was 1976, and I was on the road in South Carolina selling filters. And I ran into a friend of mine at a newsstand. I was picking up the road and track, and there was a story about Birdcage Maserati. He said, "Boy, I know where there's one here in a junkyard here in Columbia." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "How long will it take us to get there?" He says, "Oh, 10 minutes." I said, "Let's go." So we went out to the junkyard, and it wasn't a Birdcage. It was a 450S, and he'd already sold it. But I said, "Well, I'm looking for a project." Well, he had a Brabham BT8. And at the time, I kept thinking Brabham Formula car. And I said, "I'm not really interested in a Formula car. No, this was a BT8. This was a 2-liter sports racer, like a Lotus 23. So I go out in back of the shop at this junkyard repair shop in Columbia, South Carolina, and there was the ex-Denny Holm Tourist Trophy winning Brabham BT8. Undefeated in under 2-liter racing, ran at Riverside, Laguna Seca, Tripoli, North Africa, Alton Park, Silverstone. It ran all over the world, and I bought it for $2,900, and that was my first collector car.
And that was
Wow.
probably a lot of money back then too, maybe, right? I mean,
Well,
in
my
perspective of
wife,
things.
I just bought my wife a new Oldsmobile station wagon. I threw a trailer hitch on it, left Jacksonville at sunrise, and went up to Columbia, picked up the car and brought it back with a rope tied around the nose and the tail so it wouldn't fall off. It had 2 flat tires. And I pulled up at 11 o'clock at night. My wife came out the front door in her gown and looked at it, and she says, "Do me a favor." I said, "What's that?" She says, "Will you get up before sunrise and take that over to Rich Lee's shop before everybody thinks you've lost your mind?"
So Bill, as an electrical engineer and a car guy, do you feel any conflict between those two worlds?
I was a really lousy electrical engineer, so no, I don't feel any conflict. I took electrical engineering. When I got to the Citadel, there were 2 engineering. My dad wanted me to go to University of Florida and be a mechanical engineer. I couldn't see going to a school with 30,000 students. So I went to the Citadel military school up in Charleston. And when I got to the campus for a visit, the CEs were out on a hot parade ground. It was like 90 degrees with their transits, and they're all sweating. And all the double E's were up in the air-conditioned lab. And that's me. I think there were 18 in my class, and I graduated 18th.
Oh,
fact,
no.
The
Lower
professor,
1 percentile.
You did pretty good.
the head of the department was a Colonel Orrin Herring, and he said to me, "Mr. Warner, are you really going to be a practicing electrical engineer when you get out of here?" I said, "Colonel, absolutely not, man." I said, "I just satisfy my father." He says, "Good, I'll give you your diploma then."
He didn't want you to shame the trade, I guess. or
No,
something.
I'm good on light bulb changing. That's about
Hey, Bill, tell us how you guys started the Cars and Coffee and why at the Amelia Island.
Yeah,
Well, that
great
was
question.
started by Malcolm Hogan, who's on our board, and Chris Brewer. I guess it started about 20 years ago. It was kind of a national movement, but I think but somebody turned it into a franchise. I think it kind of started on the West Coast with Donut Derelicts and was it Crystal River or Crystal Cove, and every town has guys that are passionate about cars and looking for something to do. So a Saturday morning Cars and Coffee made sense. So we looked at the Concours d'Elegance, and it's not inexpensive to come to the show. And it's up there with we market our ticket price kind of like what it costs to go to a Jaguar game or the Symphony, something high end. And so we figured, well, let's do a show for the public that's free on Saturday. So we invite the clubs in and make it open to the public for free. And this year, I mean, we're packed. I mean, we got room for 450 cars. I think we got 460.
Wow.
On the Concours, we're at like 230 cars, with 230 very, very best.
I mean, the Cars and
Bill,
Coffee.
Bill,
are
tell our
even
listeners
bigger.
where they can contact you and how they can get more information.
Easiest way to go on our website, www.amelia, A-M-E-L-I-A, Concours, C-O-N-C-O-U-R-S, no E on the end, .com.
Right. Concourse.
Well, it's funny because everybody milks you. You know, you got something going and someone always comes in on it. So some clown up there put in a shopping center. He calls the Amelia Concourse with an E on the end. I often wonder how many people pull into his parking lot on Sunday morning wondering where the cars are.
Leave it to
They're
us
doing, like, Google
Americans.
Maps. It says I'm here.
Hey,
Hey,
Bill.
Bill, not to bring up a negative, but you read that you had a relationship with Carol Shelby, and I was just wondering, how that what was that like? I'm a big fan, and did you see the movie Ford versus Ferrari?
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, Derek Bell put it best. He says, if you're not into cars, if you just want to be entertained, it's a great movie. If you're into racing and you know what's going on, you go, that never happened. Like staring at each other at 220 miles an hour down the Mulsanne. I don't know too many people that do that. And then he looks at the other guy and he says, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to downshift. Well, you don't go, 8,000 RPM at fifth gear and go to fourth gear. Not if you want to stay in a 24-hour race. That's Jollywood there. I guess if you call it poetic license.
Yeah.
Charlie Agapoo was the young guy in there. And I know Charlie, and the guy looked like Charlie was when he was that age. Shelby was funny. He when I had a car, came out of the same junkyard in South Carolina 2 years later, called a Lang Cooper. It was the last of the King Cobras. It was a Cooper chassis with a body by Pete Brock, built by Don Edmonds, who was the sprint car guy. And so it was the last of the King Cobras. Well, someone must have called Shelby and was interviewing him and asked him how many of those he made. And I don't know. So I'm sitting at home 9 o'clock at night, and the phone rings. Says, Bill, and Shelby here. I said, what's up? Says, how many of those damn cars did I make? I said, you made 8 of them. Thank you. That was a funny story. When he was the honoree, we were in the golf cart going down the fairway, and every time we'd stop, crowds would come around him like mosquitoes, and they were 4 and 5 deep. And this young guy comes up, really nice young man. He says, Mr. Shelby, my dad had a 68 GT350, one of only 15 made with a tissue dispenser or something like that. You remember? And Shelby goes, yes, son, I remember. The guy went away with a great grin, and I drive off. I said, give me a break. He said, he's happy, I'm happy. He was a wonderful friend, and he would call every year just to wish us good luck. And just before he died, I gotta tell you another story about him. We were doing a thing one year called the Three Greats: Richard Petty, Don Garlitz, and Sterling Moss. They were going to be on the panel. The world's greatest drag racers with the world's greatest road racers with the world's greatest stock car racers. It doesn't get any better than that. So the Sunday before the Concours, I get a call from Susie Moss that Sterling had fallen down the elevator shaft and broke both his ankles.
Oh man,
couldn't come. I said, what am I going to do? I promoted this all year long. Everybody's expecting Sterling Moss. So I figured, well, I'll just call my friend Carol Shelby and see if he'll come and fill in. So I called him up, and that's kind of funny, the three greatest. And then we said, we're going to call you. You're not really the greatest, but we'd like you to fill in for the so I called him. Sterling fell down the elevator shaft. We talked about how Sterling was. All right, so I'm in a pinch. Can you help me out? He says, when do you want me? And I said, I need you Friday, which is, 5 days off. He says, call me back an hour. I call him back. He says, okay, here's the deal. I'll come, but I don't fly commercial. Can you send a plane for me? So RM put in some money and Mercedes-Benz put in some money. We leased a plane and flew him over. So we had a poster done. It was the three of them in black and white with Petty and Moss and Garlitz. But we had to change the poster. We had 4 days to do it. So we got an image of Shelby, and I emailed it out to him. He says, how's it look? He says, I look old. I said, Photoshop. We'll take care of it in Photoshop. we took about 10 years off of him. He was happy. He came terrific. And when you get an audience of car people, there's always some weenie in there that just makes you want to shoot them, so I tell my guys that hold the microphones or remote mics, do not give the microphone to the individual. If you give the microphone to the individual, you have given the diet. They're in charge. Hold the microphone. If they become a pain, just pull the microphone back. So this guy comes up and he goes, and one of my guys gives him the microphone. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Mr. Shelby, I thought about putting a V8 in a car, and he goes on and on and on about how he did this, he did that. And then he looked at Shelby and said, when did you think about putting a Ford engine in the Cobra? Kind of goes off the wall kind of thing. Shelby
my
looked at him and
God.
said, October.
Hey, Bill,
Yeah.
you mentioned Bobby Unser was, a great friend of yours. Can you share any great stories about him? We were all saying about his passing.
Not all of them.
I know.
Bobby was not politically correct.
Yes.
But the funny thing that came up with me was when he was our honoree, and the honoree gets 20 minutes to talk. And in the old days, we used to have the honoree stand up in front of a dais and talk. But later we found out we had to maintain some control, so we do a fireside chat now. But Bobby was up there by himself, and the dinner was sponsored by Mercedes-Benz.
Mhm.
And they're at the next table next to the Mercedes crowd, the executives. And Bobby gets up there and says, "It's nice to be here at Amelia Island." Says, I used to race for Audi. Mercedes-Benz people are looking down the table at me, smiling back at them. He says, "I learned one thing when I raced for Audi." Mercedes-Benz people are looking at me. "I learned that Germans hate Americans." Oh, God.
Oh, geez.
I'm sitting here floating down in my chair, and this rumble goes up in the audience, and he hears it. He goes, no, it's true. Germans hate Americans." And then he goes on to, I live in Albuquerque, and I used to drive over to Ascot in Los Angeles, and I used to drive through those Indian reservations. So I bought a plane to fly over all those Indians. Oh, God.
Oh,
He's into a 20-minute speech, and he's already killed the Germans and the Indians, and I'm about ready to die. He's looking for the hook. There were some other things he said that I would prefer not to say.
Of course.
But he was still fun.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because Evie Gurney, Dan Gurney's wife, called me the week before and said, "Oh, I see you got Bobby." I said, "Yeah." He said, "How are you going to control him?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I used to be a public affairs officer in the Air Force. I dealt with nuclear weapons." He said, "You don't know what you're getting into here." I called Evie back on Monday and Evie.
I was fortunate to talk to him both times I was there. And I tell you, even he was in a wheelchair and everything. He was a firecracker even then. He didn't stop that day.
Yeah, he was here last year. He sure was.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Mentally, he was sharp as a tack. And Lisa, his wife, took really good care of him and looked after him. It's, I'll be 78 in a couple of weeks, and I'm thinking about how the years have gone by and how things have changed and what the Concord is going to look like in the future, because a lot of our heroes used to cross the line. Dan Gurney would run the Motor Trend 500 for Chevrolet or Ford. He'd run Formula One, and he won Belgium the week after he won Le Mans with A.J. Foyt, Ford J-Ring sports cars, Formula One, Indy cars, NASCAR. You don't have that nowadays. Although Jimmy Johnson has gone over to try IndyCar racing, and Tony Stewart. I think Tony Stewart was the last of the A.J. Foyt kind of guys, the outspoken. But it's become so commercial, so structured. It's almost, I would say, for the public and the television, it's become too sanitary. But it's gonna look different. We've got some people lined up for honorees that I think are pretty exciting. But I have to remember now, at my age, I should be identifying with a lot of the younger drivers, like Jeff Gordon. We're going to be working on getting Jeff Gordon.
That's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of change going on. The one change I don't understand is this wildness for buying retro mod cars. I just don't understand them.
Retro.
Call them casket cars. They're cars you're going to get buried in.
Did you ever meet Ken Miles? If you don't mind me.
No, I
ever
did
meet
not.
Ken Miles?
His son Peter, but I never knew Ken Miles. Peter Brock and I are good friends. We go back to 1970 when I was working for Sports Car Graphic magazine, and knew Carol Shelby, knew Denny Holm. Never had the pleasure of meeting Ken Miles.
They depicted him in the movie like he was connected to the car like nothing else. So almost married to that car.
Yeah, I thought the movie was pretty entertaining if you separated yourself from some of the Hollywood touches. I thought they did a terrible job on BB. They made him look like a really evil guy, and I don't think he was. And and they kind of made him made fun of Henry Ford when he took a ride in the GT40. Oh, that never happened.
Mm.
I guess they have to do something. I don't know if they have to. They do things like that to entertain the non-automotive public.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to
Ian,
appeal
we have another
to the
question come up?
masses.
Yeah, just so Bill, you put on what I think anybody would admit is the best show. What do you think are the secret ingredients, or maybe not so secret ingredients? What makes a great car show? What makes Amelia Amelia?
Do you want him to give away all his trade secrets, Ian?
I've told everybody this. It's about the people.
Without a
It's-
doubt.
It's having your heroes there. It's celebrating their career. It gets back to Gene Jennings and dead cars. Anybody can do a dead car show. You get a golf course, you put cars out on everybody. So I need to get something here to show you. Alex Borland is a wonderful friend, and we try to get creative in our trophies. And he's created this fabulous trophy of exhaust pipes. And you push a button and it roars like a car. You can program your own car's sound into it. So we'll do awards that are goofy, like best sound on the field, and we'll bring the car up and they'll be thumping and pumping, and Alex has this fabulous trophy. And it's about entertainment, but it's also about having a good time, and it's about sharing experiences with people we've always admired. That's the secret. And there's no secret. There's no secret.
Sounds like you give a car show some soul. It has heart.
It really is about the people, like he says. I mean, he really does. You call yourselves the friendly concourse, right, Bill?
We try.
Yep.
Yeah, there are people who push that envelope for us.
Bill, I know you just mentioned having the heroes there helps create a great show. I have to say, I'm sure everybody here agrees you're one of our heroes.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, I'm just a car guy like you guys. I just bought a 32 Ford Highboy, which is an absolute killer of a car. And someone said, "You don't look like a hot rod guy." Well, Concours guys, we don't hold our little pinkies out with teacups. We like cars. I bought this car was built in Fresno in 1950, 51. It's got a Mercury flathead, dog dish, white walls, trim ring, and I'm thrilled to death to have it. But alongside of it is an Eldorado Brome, and then alongside that is a Group 44 TR8. So my tastes are really eclectic.
What is in your collection? Do you have a small collection?
I got about 13 cars. I just bought last year. I took delivery on a C8 Corvette, which is fabulous. Fabulous.
Yeah, a lot of car.
I really love it.
It's a lot of car.
I don't know how they sell it for the price.
Right.
I wrote an article that said you can buy something that costs 3 times as much, but it'll depreciate in the first year more than this car costs. And the 8-speed gearbox is magic. I got a Ford GT. I got a Porsche 911 I bought new in 71 when you could buy a Porsche for $7,900.
Wow.
The Group 44 TR8. I had the TR6. I sold that to Adam Carolla because he collects Paul Newman cars, and the Group 44 car became the Paul Newman car, and then I got it. Raced it for 28 years and miss it. A 63 Buick Riviera. I always like the looks of those.
Yeah, it's a pretty car.
Gorgeous.
Let's see. Ferrari Daytona. I always like those.
That is
I love this collection.
diverse collection.
I
Wow.
love this.
I love your story about your Ferrari Daytona with the window and all that. That's hilarious.
Well, this car was it was owned by the former vice president of General Motors, Chuck Jordan, and he was off in Europe one time, and the designers felt the boss shouldn't drive a Ferrari; he should drive a Corvette. So when he got back, they had taken it down to the design studios and done a Superfly conversion on it, the Rolls-Royce grill, all in foam core and tape. It had dual side mounts with rocket ship mirrors, a Rolls-Royce grill, a padded top with a diamond window, Ben-Hur hubs, fender skirts, everything. Totally tasteless.
Totally tasteless.
He
Bill,
must have been pissed.
I know you're very busy down there getting ready for the show. We really appreciate you giving us so much time today. But before you go, I have to ask you about your Cannonball run. We want you to come back and tell us the full story about your Cannonball experience, but just give our listeners a preview of coming attractions, please.
Oh, well, let's see. Let me ask a quick question. I see there's a Robert Sinclair on there. Is this the Robert Sinclair that used to be with Saab?
No, he's with
Regrettably,
AAA.
no.
Reason I would mention that he was big on supporting the Cannonball. I ran that in '75. In my '71 911, I still got. We put a 31-gallon gas tank in it and ran it. And I didn't know it. My co-driver was Tom Neal, who I used to race with in Camaros. He didn't tell me that he couldn't stay awake at night.
He had narcolepsy and he was doing
Oh,
the
boy.
cannonball.
Then he couldn't talk on the CB radio. I said, "Well, I'll drive. You talk on the radio." So, hello, fellows. I said, "You can't talk to truckers like fellows. You got to be a good buddy." "Well, they're not my good buddy." I said, "I don't care. Just act like a trucker." We didn't do so well on that. And then on the first one lap of America, which went from Darien to Boston to Detroit to Seattle, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Diego, back to Miami, Jacksonville, Richmond, one lap of America. So George Drolson, who used to run the Can-Am, was a neighbor of mine. So and Dick Starita, who I used to race against in SCCA. So then I got Road and Track to sponsor us, and they said, "We got to take Ennis, Ireland." So we took Ennis. It was good. So the four of us, we went to Mercedes and asked for a wagon. They said, "Absolutely not." So we went to Audi, and because George was a Porsche Audi dealer, and they wouldn't give us a car. So we went and rented a Lincoln unlimited mileage town car from Kennedy Airport. And took it up to Bill Mitchell shop in Cheshire, Connecticut. And Walter Hayes from Ford sent over heavy duty springs and shocks and sway bars. And CBA flew a guy in and mounted the lights, and we mounted the car and put 9,610 miles on it in 8 days and turned it in for $39 a day.
Love it. And he got
That is
mileage
such- that
points
is
or
such a
something
good
too, right?
story.
Well, yeah, he put it on his Pan Am card to get 2,000 bonus points.
Yeah.
Bill, what do you think of these guys that did the cannonball? And for people who don't know, the cannonball is the fastest time across America. For the guys that did it a year ago with COVID, when the roads were clear. I'm sure you heard that story, right?
Yeah, I have mixed emotions. A lot. Ed Bowling did it, and I think if you did it in normal days, that's one thing. Under COVID, when the roads were empty and other things were happening, and you had helicopters and electronic whiz bangs and everything, it kind of took it out of perspective. We were kind of running with a fuzz buster and a CB radio. That was it, and some extra road lights. Everybody has their time in the spotlight. It's anybody who can do it in under 30 hours is it's absolutely a miracle. But we had road maps. We didn't have GPS.
Right.
Bill, I gotta ask.
Bill, I know.
Did you ever get lost?
You could probably spend all
no.
day telling us about Cannonball, right?
What's that?
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh.
you have to
I
come
have a-
back and tell us more about Cannonball.
Okay.
Alex, you have a question.
Fine.
Yes, we have an awful lot of AACA listeners on. I know that the AACA is very special to your heart, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been a member of the AACA for I guess 30 or 40 years, and Christmas for me was always going to Hershey. Hershey's changed a lot. I think eBay has changed a lot of what's going on at Hershey. Unfortunately, it made it easier to find things, but Hershey to me is more of a social event now than anything else.
Yeah. I've been going there for, I don't know, since '88 or something like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's yeah.
Bill, I know you're very busy down there getting ready for your show, so I really appreciate all your time today.
Well, thank you.
Everybody here does.
Thanks
But
so
come-
much.
Really an honor. Really
Thanks
an
so
Really
honor.
an
much.
honor to meet you, Bill.
Bill.
No,
Honor is
it's my pleasure. Come down, have a good time.
I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
And come back after the show to tell us more about Cannonball, please.
Okay, Mike. Thanks so much. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Bill.
Yeah.
David.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Bill.
See you.
Right now, Bill,
That was
Bill, we
amazing.
can spend all day.
Oh
with
my
this
gosh.
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
That was-
I want to
whoa.
do 3 shows with him.
Oh
That's
my
a tough
God.
act to
Yeah.
follow. Tough act to follow.
Amazing
Well,
guy.
Let's see if Robert Sinclair, what's Robert Sinclair got to follow Bill Warner? Robert, what have you got?
Oh, you can't have me come on after him. Oh, never let him see
Sorry.
you sweat. Never follow a better act.
You're
We're on the road
Robert
again.
Sinclair that he
Robert,
mentioned.
this is what you call radio dirty tricks.
Yeah. Oh well, that's all right. But that was fascinating, and that
Mm.
story about the rental car.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was just telling my wife about that. I remember reading that. And it was, I think, Road and Track, a Car and Driver magazine, when they did that. And because my wife, we were in Texas and we had a rental car, and she said, "Well, you can't put too many miles on it." And I related that story. I said, "This is unlimited mileage. You know, these guys rented a car, drove around the country, and put 9,000 miles on it in 8 days. So what are you worried about? Come on, let's enjoy ourselves." So just fascinating story. And the Robert Sinclair he mentioned was head of Saab, and I bought a Mazda 626 in 1983 from a Saab dealership in Pennsylvania. The guy saw my name, looked down at my name on the form, and looked up at me. He says, "You're not that Robert Sinclair." I'm like, "No, no, I'm not."
Oh, that's the time to say yes.
That's
Yes,
the time
Yeah,
to
I
say
should
yes.
have.
Yes.
But I think a little quick thinking would have realized you can't be this guy. No. In fact, I think Mr. Sinclair passed away a few years ago.
Well, aren't you glad you're not him?
Yeah, because
If
somebody
he
got
asked the
hold of me.
question, you could have said yes.
Yeah.
Robert, speaking
So.
of rental cars, are you going to tell us about what people are doing with rental cars these days? And
Well, it's pretty crazy. Bookings are up significantly. AAA is one of the largest leisure travel agencies in the country, and we are seeing tremendous numbers of bookings for rental cars and hotels. And among those destinations that are most popular these days, which are Orlando, Disney specifically, Hawaii, and I'll get back to that, Mexico, the Caribbean, Key West, Las Vegas, and anywhere with a beach. These are the top destinations. I saw a story a couple of weeks ago that in Hawaii, rentals are going for as much as $700 per day.
Whoa.
And as a result, yes,
Whoa.
as a result, people are renting U-Haul trucks to drive
Get
on their
out.
Hawaiian
Yeah.
vacations.
Wow.
Yes,
There's
it's
a lot of
very,
beach chairs.
yeah. Well, you put a lot in
The
there.
whole-
You just get a little
Yeah.
side hustle going.
Yeah.
But it's very, very busy. People have been, thanks to the vaccine, people are getting very confident about travel. They're booking like crazy for this summer, for the fall, into next year. Cruising is going to come back in July. And in fact, I mentioned I was in Texas. The port of Galveston is a busy one, usually, with upwards of 1 million people cruising from there every year. They were jumping through hoops, so excited about cruising once again. So that's going to happen. And the European Commission president has been talking about allowing vaccinated Americans into the EU, but that's not official yet. But just you have to realize things are going to be very, very busy. We have our Memorial Day projections coming out on Tuesday, anticipating that will show a pretty strong bounce back, not from last year, but from 2019. Everything has to be compared to that. But we just want to let folks know that if you're going to plan a trip for this summer or this year or next year, you need to book early. You need to be flexible about when and where you will travel. And if you're going to get a rental car, it's very, very tough. You might consider getting an off-airport location. Those tend to be cheaper, but you have to make sure you can get
Way cheaper.
transportation. Yeah, make sure you can
Tax-wise and
get
everything.
transportation.
Well, I heard
Yeah.
that part of what's fueling this is the rental car companies in the midst of the pandemic actually sold off a lot of their fleet
did.
because
They
cars
did.
were
They did,
so hard to
and
come
they
by.
can't get new cars because of the chip shortage.
Yep.
Right. Right.
So
It's-
very,
way.
very, very tough. So
You know, yeah, my customers, normally, we have a car that's in, it says, "Sorry, Mr. Smith, your car's going to have to stay here for a week as we wait for parts." And, the availability of rental cars it's really tough. I mean, all my customers, I get the feedback from, "I can't get a car. I can't get a car." It's
Get a
like
U-Haul.
every weekend is the 4th of July
Get a
weekend.
U-Haul.
Get a U-Haul.
There you go. Yeah. And you should know that many airlines they are eliminating change fees for U.S. flights.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Except for the most basic economy flights. But it's recommended that you get travel insurance, even though travel insurance usually doesn't cover cancellations due to pandemics or epidemics. But Allianz they work with AAA, and they are saying that they're starting to introduce plans that will cover some losses due to COVID-19. And we know from previous years, the holiday travel projections that vast majority of people, 80, 85% drive on their summer vacations or their holiday vacations. And given that, have you seen the price of gasoline lately? It's upwards of
Yeah.
2.96 per gallon, way over $3 a gallon in New York City. And that $3 a gallon is a significant point. Back in 2018, during a good economy, we did a survey of drivers, and 40% said $3 a gallon is a problem, that they don't have the elasticity in their budget to pay for $3 a gallon of gasoline. They'd have to cut back in some other area, not eat out, not make a major purchase, combine their errands with their commutes. You know, they don't have the elasticity in the family budget to pay for $3 a gallon gasoline. So we're at the point now that we're at the pain point in New York City and about to be at the pain point for the whole nation. So it's time for folks to, we're just going to start giving out gas saving tips. And I'm sure you guys know all of those. The number one tip I would give is make sure your tires are properly inflated. For every pound per square inch that you are underinflated, you lose 1% of your fuel economy, and that's per tire. And slow down. For every 5 miles per hour, over 50 miles per hour that you drive, it's like adding 25 cents to the price of every gallon of gasoline that you buy. So pump them up, slow it down, try and save gasoline.
Well, that's an interesting stat.
That sounds like a driving tip. We're about to have more driving tips from Robert Erskine and our other Robert in a few minutes.
What a segue.
What a segue. Did you plan that one out? Do you two Roberts, the Robertson on that?
We conspire every week. I pay Mr. Erskine extra money so that he will allow me to do so.
You've given the secret away. Oh, you shouldn't have said that. Really interesting about, the shortage of hire cars. Haven't heard about this here in Europe yet. What we're hearing here in Europe, just as a quick comparison for you guys, is that we have a pent-up spending spree because people have been locked at home and they haven't been spending. I know this doesn't sound a large sum. There's about 200 billion pounds sitting in people's bank accounts. And the Bank of England is predicting that any time now, a gate is going to be opened and everyone's going to go out and spend.
Well, feel free to send some of it over here, Robert.
I will.
Yeah, you got any extra? Just
You don't have Amazon over there?
my email. I'll
Yes,
send
we
you.
do.
I'll take some.
Yeah,
Wow.
really, really interesting. Yeah.
Thank
So
you so
what's-
much, Robert.
Hey, so what's happening in the driving tip world?
Okay, here is a driving tip. And just very quickly, I was minded about the Cannonball Run. Our previous guest just now, Bill Warner, he painted this fantastic picture of the Cannonball Run. So what I'm talking about today, very simple tip, is tailgaters. I don't think there are any tailgaters during the Cannonball Run. I doubt that very much. So if we're driving along a road, you're being pressured by a tailgater in the trunk of your car, and we have them here in jolly old Britain, I can assure you, this is what to do. 1, don't allow yourself to become pressured or part of the tailgater's agenda. And that means putting your foot down to increase your speed to get away from the tailgater. You don't want to do that. Remain calm. And what you do is you gently slow down. That's not to play games with the tailgater. You want to slow down by taking your foot off the gas, and that will increase the distance between yourself and any vehicle that might be in front of you. And that's because your tailgater won't have enough braking distance if you have to suddenly brake. So by slowing down, this increases your distance and lessens the chance of the tailgater running into the back of you if you have to brake suddenly.
Robert, what if the tailgater is running the cannonball?
Yeah, well, just that
Get out of the way.
That's it. Well, I'm coming on to that.
My favorite is to tap the brakes really hard to scare him.
No. Because what you're doing there is you're getting into his agenda. You don't want to be part of his agenda. So point
Road
3.
rage. Oh,
Point
point three.
exactly.
I
Point
want to go
three.
point 4. Go ahead, point 3.
Point 3, when it's safe to do so, check your mirrors, indicate, and pull over and stop at the first available opportunity. Just gently indicate, slow down gently, and pull over when it's safe to do so at a safe stop. Point 4, let the tailgater pass and disappear into the distance. And it's possible you may find him in the next ditch.
Yeah, you know,
Brilliant.
I had a
That's
guy,
what you do.
a friend of mine who was a little bit, he was a technician, a good mechanic, and he invented this dual windshield washer spray system. And he would point the secondary system very high so that when it sprayed over the top of the windshield,
Yeah.
and it would hit the car behind him. And he
Was
would
his
put,
name was David? Was his name Q?
no, listen to this. And he would put antifreeze that would hit the windshield of the guy behind him. I said, "Are you crazy? You're gonna kill somebody that way." And he had a special button, and he said, "That's for those whatever."
It's like a James Bond car.
I mean, yeah, and it would literally, you sprayed it, and it would go right over the roof, and it would go far enough to hit the car behind him right in the windshield. And it
Do
was
not do this at home, boys and
no,
girls.
no,
Do
no,
not
no.
do this at home.
It was
Here in New
evil.
York,
It
though,
was
here in-
evil. I like your tips, Robert. They're safer for the public.
Yeah, yeah. The
You
main
know,
thing is you want to be safe. Don't be part of the tailgater's agenda.
Yeah.
Don't get pressured. Don't get caught up in what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Pull over when it's safe to do so. Let the guy pass.
Uh,
Get your composure and go off. And it's not about submitting to somebody's bullying
Yeah.
or giving up. You're the safe driver. You will be
Yeah.
able to continue in a safe way. The other guy won't. He'll be in a ditch somewhere, I promise you.
And if he wants to crash his car, by all means, go
Yeah.
right ahead.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Find the
Exactly.
nearest concrete wall.
Yeah.
Robert,
Yes.
I want to have a tip next week for how do you deal with somebody's got his brights on behind you?
Ah,
Mm.
okay. I will give you the tip.
Yes, because
next
I want to
week.
put a floodlight on the back of my car so I can blind him.
Yeah.
Flip the switch.
I know it's illegal, but I'm
It's-
dying to do that.
It's kind of like the guy with the antifreeze that shoots it in his windshield. I mean, it's
The James Bond.
My son has them in his truck, on his truck.
does he
Oh,
really?
really? Facing backwards?
Yes.
I thought that was completely illegal.
Well, his friend has a tow truck company, and he helps him out. And he
Hmm.
needs the bright lights in the back.
In the
Oh,
back,
I see.
sure.
And
Okay,
on
so
the
they're
side.
Utilitarian. Okay.
Yeah.
But
And when a guy hits him, he hits the back. He hits the lights on it, and,
Fight
and
fire
he-
with fire.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
guy backs away, then
Yeah.
pulls up next to him, starts yicking and yakking at him. Then he puts the yellow lights on. Then he puts the white lights on the side of the truck.
this doesn't sound like safe driving.
And the
I'm
guy
sorry.
He just puts his hands up. He gives up.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
wouldn't happen in
I know-
jolly old England, it sounds like. This
Oh,
is
it
definitely
does.
an American
It
thing.
does. No, it happens here too. You know, all this bad driving and upsetting people, it is endemic everywhere.
You
Okay.
just
Robert,
never
I
know
want
who
to
you're
talk
dealing
for a
with
minute
in a
about
situation.
basic driving tips.
That's-
What's Mike?
Can we talk about basic driving tip for a minute?
Mm.
We have a lot of driving schools in my neighborhood, at least a half a dozen driving schools. So when I'm test driving a car, I'm constantly running into these not running into, but I'm encountering
yeah,
these
yeah.
student drivers. And the one thing that it makes me think of is the very most basic skill that these instructors should be teaching the student driver is stay out of everybody else's way.
Well,
Especially in
sometimes-
Brooklyn.
Oh, come on. We're nice in Brooklyn. I see a student driver. I'm very courteous.
That's
I'm-
the way.
I
Everybody
toot
in
my
New York
horn
City
in
is-
a very courteous way.
Everybody's in such a rush.
Too. I don't harass the
Yeah.
student drivers, but I would like to harass the instructors who don't teach these students to stay out of everybody's way.
Well, it's hard to do that in Brooklyn, though. Like the roads are narrow. How do you get out of people's way when you're? Look, we all got to learn to slow down a little
Exactly.
bit.
That's what
right?
it is.
Right?
Robert's
And
right.
Yeah.
You can't be tempted yet to retaliate. You
Engage.
never know
No.
who
No.
you're dealing with. I
No.
know somebody that did something like that, and a guy pulled out a sawed-off shotgun on the 59th Street Bridge and stuck it out the window at him. Can't do that.
You don't want to do that.
No good.
Absolutely.
No, it's nice to know that being discourteous is universal.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Of
It's
course
not
it
only
is.
here in New York City.
I'm very nice to the student drivers. Sometimes I have to go way far around them they're blocking the road, so I have to get out of their way.
Just remember, Mike and everyone, we all started off in the same way. Some of us were natural drivers and we knew what we were doing, but the vast majority of people all start off in
Wait,
this way.
I have a question for the panel here. How many people failed their driving test the first time on this show?
And would admit to it.
And would admit,
Not-
okay, so
not me.
Robert Erskine has, anybody else?
No,
I'll admit to it, I
sorry.
did. I
The
failed,
first
I
time.
failed
Yeah,
the
I
first time.
passed.
I have been driving since I was 14.
They gave you a test at 14?
No. I was just driving, at 14,
He
just
was
driving.
just doing it. So I was driving well. I was pulling out, I had to make a right. And I went like when the guy was like making a right into my street, if you can kind of imagine that. And they said, and we do that every day. And he said, no, I cut off traffic. I'm like, what are you kidding?
I had a customer whose 12-year-old son took the car from the Bronx and drove it to Coney Island.
When
Wow.
I
Took the
was
keys.
12, when I was 12, I used
my
to drive the
gosh.
family car to my grade school. My mother would be in the car. I'd drive to school and she would drive the car home.
I have a friend who took 7 times to pass her road test.
Whoa.
Wow.
And
It's a
is
road
she-
test, not the bar exam.
A
She
friend of
would
mine,
pass the
Pete,
bar
So
first time.
Johanna, is she a good driver now? Did she? or-
Well, she just passed away, but,
Oh, but-
yeah, she was, hesitant.
Yeah, I would be hesitant to jump in the car
to
with her,
drunk-
right?
yeah, well, that,
He used to go to
no,
the
not
schools in
very
Mike's
often.
neighborhood.
a friend of mine, Pete, growing up, the same thing. He was driving a car before he got his driver's license. Same thing, kept failing it over and over again. He was surprised, but he had to unlearn all his bad habits. That was the problem.
Mm.
Yeah.
When I was in driver's ed, I drove only for 3 minutes and the instructor wouldn't let me drive anymore because I scared him. 'Cause I was already an experienced driver. So
My,
he
my
said,
nephew failed the test by 5 or 6 times because he got on the wrong side of the street. He got into the car. He got in the car in the
Oh.
street side, not the curb side.
Oh, well, as long as he wasn't driving British style, on the wrong side of the road, that would.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Look, I'm sure that I've told some of you this, but those Facebook listeners and YouTubers who've come on, I failed my driving test the first time because at the time of learning to drive, I was riding a French moped and I was a cycle fanatic. So of course, in England, you indicate with your hands as to which way you're going to go. So if you're turning left, you stick your hand out left. If you're turning right, you stick your right hand out. So when I went for my driving test, everything was going swimmingly. It's absolutely perfect. And part of the test then is when the examiner says to you, without any mechanical means, which is very quaint, meaning don't use your indicators, indicate that you are turning left. Now, the correct signal in Great Britain at that time is to put your hand out and put a circle with your hand outside of the driver's window.
Yeah.
That means you're pulling it. No, what did I do?
Yeah, right. That's
I
crazy.
threw my hand out in the car, my left hand, and I punched the driving instructor in the mouth. And then continue to drive with my right hand turning left with my hand stuck in the examiner's mouth.
You
And
blew
he-
you blew it. You
He
blew-
failed me for
Really?
not using the
For
rear
assault.
view mirror.
Uh,
Yes, he did
Robert,
fail me.
Robert, did that
He's
result
probably
in
been
any
punched
criminal
before.
charges?
Yeah, criminal
No,
charges.
no. But the end of the story was a month later, I put him for the driving test.
You got the
And
same.
who comes
Oh
out?
no! Come on.
Same examiner. We get in the car and he just looked at me and he just said, Mr. Erskine, I hope you're not going to assault me on this. And I passed the second time.
On
Excellent,
that
excellent.
note, let's move on to a more serious subject. The Gold Shield, our sponsor. And as I said at the beginning, I'm here today for the first time in our Gold Shield headquarters. You can see the Gold Shield behind me, those of you that are watching. Gold Shield is here to make sure that every veteran gets a proper welcome home. we want to create a mechanism where businesses will join our Gold Shield network to support veterans charities, the charities that give the services that veterans need, services that they can't get from the government. The government has never been able to properly take care of the needs of veterans. A lot of I don't need any services. I'm one of the lucky ones. But there are many veterans who have all kinds of medical and other problems, and it results in increased rates of PTSD. Veterans also suffer from cancer at much higher rates than non-veterans because of all the pollution and hazardous material that we handle in the military. So there's a lot of need out there, and we want to be the organization that makes sure that there's enough funding for all the great veterans charities like Vets and Motorsports we heard from before, and every other veterans charity that does any kind of good work to help veterans overcome PTSD and any other problems they may be having. So we're all Gold Shield members here, and I hope we can all get all our friends and relatives to join our campaign. Everybody out there listening can go to thegoldshield.us, thegoldshield.us, sign up as a Gold Shield member or an ambassador. It's free to sign up as a Gold Shield ambassador. Members pay an annual membership fee that amounts to less than the cost of a bottle of water or a cup of coffee a day. It's a very small price to pay to make sure that every veteran gets a proper welcome home. So I want to thank all you guys for joining our campaign. And now, what do you guys have to say as we close out this week's show? David.
Well, hey, well, I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and if anybody listening needs to reach me, they can always find me and contact me through my website, urbanclassicsautorepair.com. Happy to help answer any car questions, fix any problem.
Hey, Johanna.
Yes, we
tell
are
everybody
located.
where we can find you.
We're located in Seaford, and you can reach us at djautorepairsanddiagnostics.com.
Right.
Jeff, where's your transmission shop again?
Thanks, Mike. It was a great show, by the way, everybody. New York Transmission Group is in College Point, right under the Whitestone Bridge at nytransmissiongroup.com.
And Ian Carr, you are our favorite car guy.
Well, you know, I'm.
We tell that to everybody, you know.
Thank you. I know. I'm
feel
on
special
the show for a while here. No, you can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ian Carr with a K, IANKARR. You can see me building a Porsche 914 in my home garage.
All right.
And Robert Erskine, you're our favorite sculptor. You know that.
Yeah, well, that's a great honor. You can find me on www.roberterskine.com. And if you want to ask me any safety questions about driving cars, how to be safe, email me at email@roberterskine.com.
For instructions on how to punch out a driving instructor.
Especially without him even knowing.
And Alex, I saved you for last because I want to give you a special thank you for bringing us Bill Warner.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I want
Amazing.
I want to thank my friend Bill Warner again for coming on. I mean, he's so busy this time of year, and he's just a wonderful guy. And I also wanted to say to anybody interested in the AACA, just find out what all this fun is about. Just come on AACA.org. It's a great car club.
And what does AACA stand for?
It's the Antique Automobile Club of America. We have regions in every state in the United States, including Puerto Rico. It's one of the largest car clubs in the world, and we have a ball all the time. So find out what the fun's about. AACA.org.
Thanks so much, Alex,
You're
for
going to be at Amelia Island in 2 weeks. So any of our listeners out there who may want to go to Amelia Island and hook up with you down there should write us on Facebook or at autolabradio@gmail.com, or go to our website.
Hey, and
and that's and the Amelia Island is ameliaconcourse.com.
And Concourse does not have an E on the end.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Hey, and
Any listener out there who's going to Amelia Island, contact us and maybe you can meet Alex in person.
hey, Mike, who's coming on? Do we know who's going to be around next week with us on our show?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Oh.
we
have
do.
Mark Green, who has a daily automotive podcast. I think the #1 automotive podcast in the country.
Yes.
Wow.
From Cars, yeah.
He's
Cars,
got a
yeah,
lot of
dot-
interesting guests with a lot of interesting stories.
That's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
All
it'll
right.
be great.
All right. Anybody else have a final thought? I want to thank Robert Sinclair and
AAA.
Peter
the
Klein
house.
for coming on, and especially Bill Warner.
All right.
Great show, guys. Everything was
Alex,
great.
thank you so much for bringing on the guest
Yeah.
today. It was an awesome
Absolutely, I
job.
had
Thank
fun.
you.
A lot of
And
fun.
a shout out to our other Alex, engineer, Alex Garrett. Thank you, Alex.
Working behind the scenes.
Nice
Working
job,
behind
Alex.
the
Thank you,
scenes.
Alex.
There he
Yes,
is.
he finally
All
right,
showed
there
up.
he is.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We'll
Show,
see
guys.
everybody
Thank
next
you.
week, hopefully.
Next week, absolutely.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Be well.
All right.
Have a great weekend,
Take
guys.
care. Stay safe.
Have a great week.